Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and you might have noticed there's something a little different going on. We're going to kind of try this video podcast style. I always feel nervous getting on camera. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm actually very camera shy, and I just want to do this video without having to set anything up or get the lighting ready. So let's just kind of see how this works out for the minute. But I want to talk a little bit about the SAG after strike and the the producers' very empty threat to get the strike to end. Now, for those of you who are not aware, the actors have been on strike for more than 100 days, and there has been kind of some movement, but kind of not. They seem to have come together on a lot of issues, but it seems like the main issue that is really causing an impasse right now is residuals for streaming services. Basically, SAG came to the table one day and said, hey, by the way, we would like 2% of every streaming subscriber that subscribes to streaming service be put into a pot and then distributed to the actors based on viewership. For those who are thinking, wow, 2% is a lot, well, per subscriber, it's roughly 57 cents per subscriber. And considering that, well, Netflix and Disney, they're all raising their prices anyway, what's raising the subscription service $1 more at this point? And then you can have your residuals, everyone's happy. But basically, all the studio heads walked away from that meeting and they put the kibosh on the talks, and Ted Sarandos said that was a bridge too far, and they had no choice but to walk away. And of course, the hilarious thing is that, what do you mean you have no choice but to walk away? I mean, what's that going to accomplish? You've already lost hundreds of millions of dollars for these dual strikes. You're going to have to go back to the bargaining table. You might as well stay there and figure it out. And sure enough, like a week later, Bob Iger apparently called Fran Drescher and said, hey, you know what, let's get back to the table because last I checked, we're still losing a crap ton of money on these strikes, so let's try to bring them to an end. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's basically what happened. And so they've come back to the table, and now the AMTP, whatever the heck it is, it's the producers, it's the studio heads, AMPTP, I'm sorry, I'm just looking it up, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. They have issued an ultimatum that is basically a threat where it's like, hey, look, if we don't end this strike within a week, guess what? The fall season is essentially lost at this point. We're going to pack it up and we're not going to talk until January. And make no mistake, this is a threat. I have heard some commentators say, well, look, we want to be realistic because if we don't get this deal done by this point, then the fall TV season is over. We might as well just pack it up and, throw in the towel. But that's really not much of a threat at the end of the day because it's like, okay, so your solution to losing all this money and losing all this production is to basically lose some more, because keep in mind, if they throw in the towel and they basically pack up their things, they say, we're not talking until January, you know what else gets lost? Well, probably a quarter of the spring season. And you know what? They might have to delay some more movies because there's more shooting time that is not happening. So I don't understand why the CEOs of these companies think that this is a good bargaining chip. I mean, here's the thing. It's already public knowledge how much money the studios have lost. The studios have lost so much money that they would have been better off just giving the writers and actors exactly what they were asking for right from the get-go. It would have been cheaper. It would have been more cost-efficient. And guess what? They would not have lost out on any production whatsoever. We could be watching Dune in a couple weeks if they just took the deal right from the get-go. But no, they didn't want to do that. They decided to throw a hissy fit. They had to have a you know what measuring contest, because there's no female CEOs in the room as far as I am aware. And it was just ridiculous. This was dumb. It was a bad threat then. I mean, they basically, when the strike started, the CEOs got on their yachts, they went on vacation. They're like, oh, we'll let them steam out for a few months, and then they'll come and they'll take whatever we offer. And it didn't work. And once some serious harm was being done, you know what? They hashed out a deal with the writers in 5 days. They seem to be playing hardball for the actors, because if there's one thing that the streaming services do not want, and by the way, I think it speaks volumes that Ted Sarandos was the one who commented when the talks first broke down, they don't want to share their viewership numbers. But here's the thing, as someone who is a shareholder of Paramount, of Warner Brothers Discovery, of Disney, of Apple, of Netflix, I pretty much got stock in all the companies, primarily because I love entertainment, so, you know, of course I'm going to invest in them. But as a shareholder, I should have access to those numbers. You know, this should not be a private thing. You know, the box office numbers are a thing. They show how good the movies are doing. We have a very clear metric of success with movies at the box office. Heck, we even have the Nielsen ratings for TV, which admittingly are a guess at best. But here's the thing. There's still a metric there of some sort, so we know, hey, this network or this show is actually doing really well. And, you know, they could do that because they want to charge more money on advertisements. But streamers don't do that. They're like, oh, no, we don't need to share those numbers. It doesn't matter. It's not like we even have commercials. But it's like, yeah, we kind of do need to know, because we want to know if spending, you know, however, $10 million an episode on Cowboy Bebop is worth it. Granted, I know it got canceled after one season, but, you know, is spending $30 million an episode of Stranger Things, are the viewers really that good? Like, what Stranger Things bring to the platform? I mean, I know Stranger Things is successful. They've got merchandise, things like that. But there's really, without numbers, there's no way for investors to know if their investment is worth anything. And it's really strange that they don't want to make this information known, because it's going to be known at some point anyway. They are introducing ad tiers. They are trying to push people onto the ad tiers, and guess what? Those numbers will have to be available if you want to negotiate higher spending on commercials for the streaming service. And the fact that they are creating these ad tiers, they know they're creating the ad tiers, but they still don't want to cut the actors and writers in on that. I do think the writers got a little bit of a crummy deal, in the sense that it's like performance-based, but like once everything goes ad-based, then they're not going to partake in that probably, and it's going to create another writer's strike in a few years. Like, who knows? But I'm now getting a little off topic here. Maybe this is a downside to only doing this audio. The bottom line is this. They have lost so much more money fighting these strikes than they would have just caving in. And at this point, they've lost so much money, that honestly, to keep delaying the negotiations is suicide. Okay, you lose the fall season if you don't get a deal done in a week. I totally understand that. That's frustrating. But you know what? You don't walk away. You can't afford to walk away, because you want to lose the spring season too. Do you want to lose a whole year of television and productions because of, what, 2%? This is why I do not feel bad for the studios. This is why I don't feel bad for the CEOs. It's a very, very small amount of money, and what is being asked is so much less than what they are losing by continuing to keep these strikes going. So no, I don't feel bad for them. And by the way, it seems like the actors are in the same boat, because on the verge of this threat, where the CEOs are pressuring the SAG union negotiators to basically cave and sign a deal that does not include residuals. I know that they basically want to sign a deal without residuals. More than 3,600 actors, some of them really big, like Bryan Cranston and John Hamm and Mark Ruffalo and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, They signed an open letter basically saying they would rather stay on strike for another few months than accept a bad deal. And yeah, they're going to lose some money, but then what's the CEO's going to do? They're going to have to go to their shareholders, explain that they lost another $500 million or more over a measly 2%. And by the way, I expect a bonus for this job. So yeah, this seems like an empty threat to me. I would be very surprised if it extends a week, only because the studios can't afford to do this, and the CEO's jobs are on the line. Honestly, if the CEOs can't negotiate this, and they have shown like very, very much that it seems like they can't negotiate this, then I would be surprised if anyone still had their job next year, because you don't lose companies $500 million to $1 billion over petty squabbles and still expect to keep your $20+ million position with bonus. That is not how this works, or at least that's not how it should work. Who knows? Maybe they'll get to keep their jobs anyway. But anyway, I would like to know what you think of this story. Hey, what do you think of the visual styles? Like, can I get away with more of this? Can I come in to the office like in my bathrobe and make my videos podcast? I would love to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.